All right. What up, what up? Welcome in. Welcome to the start of the fantasy playoffs. If you're here, I assume you've made it. Congratulations on that accomplishment. Job 1 is done. Job 2 starts tonight. Falcons-Buccaneers hanging out ahead of the game. We'll do a quick overview. Players going tonight. Check out the latest injury updates. And then whatever you guys need leading up to the game. We'll start with Falcons-Bucs. General overview on guys to start and sit in tonight's game. Start-sit questions that pertain to tonight's game will be prioritized on top of course, the member questions and any supers that I get. I will get into that in a short while. But for now, just talking about tonight's game. You're starting Bijan Robinson. No analysis necessary. Starting Bucky Irving on the other side, I think that's perfectly safe. Rachaad White still gets involved. Sean Tucker is in there a little bit, but Bucky is the bell cow, and now he's been back for a couple of weeks. I think we can confidently fire him up. Baker Mayfield's a little bit more interesting as a quarterback option tonight. He's getting Mike Evans back. He gets Jalen McMillan back tonight as well, actually. So Baker getting a boost in his weapons. He's still a low-end QB1 just because there's been less of a confident track record to go off of recently. And Evans is not going to play the entire game. I doubt McMillan will as well. But if they can get to the red zone, that's where Evans will be utilized tonight. Hopefully you don't need him. But just talking quickly about Baker, I mean, low-end QB1 status with a little bit more confidence, at least that he gets his weapons back. He's got a full complement against Atlanta. Those are the guys I feel okay about. Everybody else is a little bit more dicey. I do think, depending on your situations at tight end, I do think you have to start Kyle Pitts tonight. No Drake London. He will miss another game. Wouldn't be surprised if London missed the rest of the season at this point. The Falcons are out of the playoff race. Michael Penix has already been ruled out for the year. There's not really any reason for Atlanta to rush London back. They are not going anywhere this year. I would imagine Kyle Pitts continues to see 25 to 30% of the target share, which he has in games London has missed this year. And in games London has missed, he has finished as a tight end 1 each week. He was on the injury report, listed as limited. That probably had mostly to do with the fact that it was a short week. Seems like Pitts is good to go. We'll, I think, get definitive confirmation on that in the next 20 minutes or so. And I think you fire him up. The other options in this game would be Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka. Both are incredibly volatile. Egbuka has the production has fallen off a cliff since the start of the season. He still gets 7 to 9 targets a game, but he's just not really doing a whole heck of a lot with it. There have been near-miss touchdowns multiple weeks over the past 6 weeks. It is a good matchup, but Egbuka has just flat out done nothing recently. So he's a borderline flex play. It depends on who your other options are, but honestly, I'm looking elsewhere, ideally, off of Egbuka. Perhaps Mike Evans' return actually helps Egbuka, draws some attention away from him. He doesn't have to do as much, but it is, again, going to be Evans' first game back since the start of the season. He's not going to play the entire game. He's not going to play every down, so his impact will be minimal. Therefore, I don't know that I feel that much better about Egbuka just because Evans is returning. Same deal with Evans. He is only going to play sporadically. 50% of the snaps is probably a best-case scenario. Maybe that upticks a little bit if it's a close game and the Bucs are trailing at the end of the game. But I would not expect to see Evans for a full complement of snaps tonight. He is a risky, volatile, boom-bust wide receiver 3, and probably Igbuka's in that same boat. Not interested in playing Chris Godwin. Not interested in playing Jalen McMillan. Cade Otton is out for this game. Or I think he was doubtful, which means he's highly unlikely to go. Not really interested in playing Darnell Mooney. He's not capable of handling a wide receiver 1 role. And I don't want to start Kirk Cousins even in Superflex formats. So, Bijan Robinson, duh. Bucky Irving is in. Baker could be a low-end QB1, certainly a guy you start in Superflex formats, and I think you start Kyle Pitts tonight. Yes, it is volatile, but with no Drake London, his volume should be strong. Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, incredibly volatile options at wide receiver. I would hope you do not have to fire up either one. As for today's practice notes, Devon Achane was limited and was spotted in a non-contact jersey. That's not really a surprise. Sounds like his availability for Monday is okay. They are limiting his opportunities in practice. No concerns for Devon Achane. Josh Jacobs did not practice for the second straight day on Thursday. We're obviously hoping for a Friday practice, even in a limited fashion, to put Jacobs on track to go in a tough matchup against the Denver Broncos. Yes, the matchup is tough, but if Jacobs is out there, you're starting him. Lower expectations, but you start him. DK Metcalf has a stomach bug, I think, but he's good to go. He claims he's good to go. Rome Odunze practicing in limited fashion for the second straight day this week, so after missing Week 14, he's looking likely to return. It's not a great matchup against Cleveland, but depending on your other options, you may have to go with him. Tyrone Tracy's off the injury report. He will split backfield opportunities with Devin Singletary in a great matchup against Washington. Both of those guys are on the flex radar. Chris Rodriguez is limited in practice on Thursday on the other side in that game against the Giants. It's a solid matchup. If you are looking for, a flex play at running back, he could be in that conversation. No practice for David Njoku. No practice for Dylan Sampson. No practice for Cedric Tillman. The Browns are incredibly banged up going into this game against Chicago. Harold Fannin is looking like a top 6 play at tight end this week. If not only Njoku can't play, freeing up tight end 1, all to himself, Tillman also potentially being out. I mean, more targets for Fannin, you would think. T. Higgins, he ran up the hill today. Real ones know what I mean by that. So he's looking on track to play, limited in practice on Thursday. Parker Washington, limited. Meh. Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields not practicing. It looks like it's going to be Brady Cook for the New York Jets at quarterback. All I will say about that is hopefully you got the Jacksonville Jaguars defense off of waivers. They are the top defense to play this week. If you are playing in Week 15, this is not for anybody who has a bye week and is looking to stash defenses. If you are playing in the first round of playoffs or perhaps a do-or-die, win-or-go-home final week of the regular season in shallower leagues or with a smaller playoff bracket, the Jacksonville Jaguars are the top defense this week. And not only will the Jets be down to their third-string quarterback, it looks like they will be without their starting tight end. Mason Taylor has a neck injury. He is not practicing for the second straight day. Not looking good for his prospects of playing. Alvin Kamara not practicing once again. It's going to be Devin Neal for another week. Kamara's missed a couple of weeks in a row. 2 back-to-back missed practices this week. Going to go ahead and put that one in pen. Kamara's not going to play Week 15. Breece Hall limited in practice on Thursday. Monitor that one. Jake Ferguson not practicing on Thursday with a calf injury. Monitor that one. If you have Jake Ferguson and you were looking to rely on him, take a look at the other options on the waiver wire, or if you maybe have another tight end on your bench, you may have to pivot if Ferguson can't go. Good news for the Cowboys, though. CeeDee Lamb looks like he's tracking to play and not miss any time after going into concussion protocol last week on Thursday night against the Detroit Lions. He's tracking to play on Sunday night. You will have your wide receiver 1 for your first round matchup. Nick Chubb not practicing on Thursday. It's looking like Woody Marks is in a good shape to get bell cow opportunities for Houston against the Arizona Cardinals. Woody Marks is an RB1 this week. if Nick Chubb can't play. And honestly, just because of how good the matchup is, he may be an RB1 regardless. On the other side of that game, Marvin Harrison still not practicing after picking up a heel injury in Week 13, caused him to miss last week. Michael Wilson went nuts. Brutal matchup against Houston, but if Marv doesn't go, Michael Wilson is must start, even though the matchup is bad. Maybe temper expectations, but literally expectations for Michael Wilson is maybe a wide receiver 2 instead of a wide receiver 1 as a waiver wire pickup midway through the season. He is looking like an excellent option and a guy that, even in a bad matchup, if Marv can't play, a guy that you have to get into your lineup by any means necessary. Amari DiMercado limited in practice, so he could be returning to a backfield that already includes Bam Knight and Michael Carter. If he returns, I'd rather not play any one of those 3 against Houston. Find other options. This one's new. Davante Adams not practicing on Thursday. Oh, that was he was on the injury report yesterday. I missed that. Okay, Davante Adams, hamstring injury, not practicing. That would be a significant loss, not just for fantasy lineups, but for the Rams in general. If Adams can't go, back-to-back practices missed for a hamstring injury, not an ideal sign for Davante Adams. Man, okay. We may need to look at other options, like a Tutu Atwell. That is not look. I mean, we'll see. Keep it locked in on Davante Adams, but start making other plans, alternate plans at the very least. That's not great. And Mark Andrews was a midweek add to the injury report. He picked up a glute injury today. He was listed as limited. Midweek injury, never ideal. At least he did practice in some fashion, but not great. Andrews has been highly volatile this year. Has had multiple good matchups recently and has not done well in almost any of them. Beautiful matchup this week against Cincinnati, but he's already volatile, and now he's picking up a midweek injury. Not feeling great about Mark Andrews. Not feeling great. Okay. Those are the latest injury updates that I have. I'll keep an eye on things and see if we get any new ones before kickoff. And, of course, we'll get inactives here shortly in about 15 minutes for this game. We'll see if anything significant comes down. Probably the one that is most hanging in the balance is Kyle Pitts, even though I don't think there's too much concern here. He should go. He should not have any problems. Let's get into your questions. But first, let me get into my spiel. If you have been here before, welcome back, and thank you for your continued support. If you are here for the first time, welcome in. Members will get first priority responses to their questions and comments. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. It does not matter when a member sends a question. It could be, it could be 20 minutes after you send yours in as a non-member. I'll get to the member first. That is a perk. If you send a super, if you're not a member but you send a super, if you're feeling so inclined, you do not have to, but if you're feeling generous enough this holiday season, that would also be a way to jump the line and get your question answered faster. You may also get a little bit more out of me, out of my thought process, analysis, if I feel like it warrants it as a member or a sender of a super. If you do not send a super and you are not a member, I still will get to your questions, but I do ask for some patience as I work through member questions and supers first. Whether you are a member or not, if you are enjoying the conversation and the stream in general, if you could just like the stream, that helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. Let's get into it. I see Crumply Heads. I see Fortune. I see Sport Dog. And I see Evan just popped in just now. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out. Let's get to the member questions first. Crumply Heads got every team through to the bye week except for one. I will take a look at the roster in Discord in a second. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's probably fine. Yossi is currently in your starting lineup. I don't know that I would necessarily do that. I might take the floor of DeAndre Swift and go that route. I know it's not a good matchup, but he gets volume, and it's a home game. I would, Crumply Heads, I would probably take Yossi out of there for Swift, but I think everything else is fine. Okay. What else do we have here? And I see I've got some folks in here from Twitch. Appreciate you coming in and hanging out. So if there might be some folks who they might see YouTube questions. They may only see Twitch questions. I see them all. Fear not. I will get to them. Sport Dog. You could start Godwin, but you have Rodriguez and Marks. I would probably rather have and potentially play Devin Neal over Godwin or Rodriguez. I would pick up Devin Neal and drop. I would probably pick up Devin Neal, Sport Dog, and drop Godwin. I would play Woody Marks over all of these guys. Marks has an incredible matchup against Arizona, and Nick Chubb is not practicing, so I would plan to play Marks. I don't know if I would play Neal just yet, but I would certainly play him over Godwin and Rodriguez. So I'm happy to pick up Neal and drop Godwin. That's totally fine with me. Especially with Evans coming back. Godwin was already not super enticing, and now Evans is back. And Jalen McMillan. So I would drop Godwin and pick up Neal. Fortune, how am I feeling about my teams for the start of playoff season? Good. Very good, actually. I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens. If you're giving me a chance to get on my soapbox, I'm in 6 leagues. I made the playoffs in 5 of them. I have the bye week in 2 of them. And the one league that I missed was an intentional rebuild in Dynasty from the start of the season. So I always knew that was not going to be – I was not going to have a successful year from a win-loss perspective. So 5 for 5 in leagues that I intended to be competitive in this year. I'll take that. We'll see what happens. The playoffs are fun. They are nerve-wracking as hell, obviously. The anxiety and the nerves all start tonight, depending on what you have, depending on what your situation is. It's nerve-wracking, but that's what makes it fun, right? So let's enjoy it. Let's see. Sport Dog, it looks like your question got duplicated. But pick up Devin Neal. Drop Godwin. Those are all of the member questions that I see right now. And hello again to Evan. Let me know if you need anything. I'll keep an eye out. But while the member questions are addressed, I will go back up to the top. Godwin or Terry McLaurin? Terry, not close. Godwin has not really done anything. Godwin can be dropped. Like, depending on, obviously, if it's like a 14-team league or large or 16-team league, and you need to hang on to some depth. Okay, fine. And I know McLaurin's not going to have Jaden Daniels, but McLaurin was just fine against Denver a couple weeks ago with Marcus Mariota. Now he gets the New York Giants. Terry is his team's wide receiver 1. Godwin is maybe his team's wide receiver 3 at this point now, to be honest. Terry, not close. This one's from Twitch. Mike Evans, Montgomery, Chris Rodriguez, and Kyle Monangai. Is this a start 1? If it's a start 1, and the Lions get the Rams, that's not a great matchup. Rodriguez is in a solid matchup against the Giants, but he's somewhat of an uninspiring play. That being said, this does have a chance to be a neutral game script type of game, and that's, where I prefer to play a guy like Rodriguez who comes off the field on passing downs. Monungai has had solid usage, didn't do much with it last week, and it's a bad matchup against Cleveland. And Evans is making his first start in months tonight, and will probably not play the whole game. I think I would go Rodriguez here. I expect this game to be close. It's two not good teams with bad records just playing out the string. I would expect Rodriguez gets decent usage here because I do not think the Giants will blow out the Commanders. I guess there's a chance that New York can win this game and handle their business because it's Dart versus Mariota. But I mean, both of these teams only have a couple of wins each, so it could truly go either way. I'm okay with Rodriguez here from these options. Montgomery had a nice night against the Cowboys. The Rams is a different test, a different challenge. I would fade him a little bit more this week. I liked him a little bit last week. I fade him a little bit more this week because of the matchup. I would probably go Rodriguez. No, I don't think there's anything to worry about with the Neal injury. He's practicing in a limited fashion. When I last checked. Let's see. Questionable. Yeah, he's practicing on a limited fashion. He's okay. We're all right. Yeah, you can pick him up. You can pick up Devin Neal. Okay, I see a couple other questions, but I will get to them shortly, but I got to get to member questions first. Defenses to target during the playoffs, Fortune. Yeah, I mean, anybody who plays Indianapolis. They're trotting out 87-year-old grandfather Phillip Rivers. So San Francisco is looking good for I guess Seattle looks great this weekend. They're probably already rostered. Week 16, the 49ers, they may have already been scooped up because they get the Titans this week. And then the Colts get, who do they play week 17? Oh, Jacksonville. They already definitely got scooped up as well because they're playing the Jets this week. So, I mean, anybody who's playing the Titans, that's, again, San Francisco this week. Kansas City, I think, week 16. And New Orleans, week 17. The Saints have been playing better of late on defense. In fact, I think they get the Jets week 16. They do. If it's Brady Cook once again on the road, New Orleans at home, that's not a bad spot. That's not a terrible spot. My phone cover, the button to access just fell off. So now I'm dealing with that. Okay. Super fun. I mean, the New Orleans Saints are not bad. They're not bad. I mean, anybody playing the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins without Drake London, who is not going to play the rest of this year in all likelihood. So Tampa tonight. I think they get the Rams week 17 and then the Cardinals next week. The Cardinals might be fine. They do okay at home. Not great, but they do all right. And Atlanta at home, that might not be a bad spot. So, yeah. I mean, just target bad offenses. You know? 49ers, Jaguars, they're probably both scooped. The New Orleans Saints, if you can stomach it, they're not great, but they do have good matchups. And then same with the Cardinals. Not great, but they play week 16 against Atlanta. The Rams play week 17 against Atlanta. The Jags get the Jets this week and the Colts week 17, so that's pretty good. We'll We'll see how Tampa Bay does tonight against Atlanta. If they do well, they get Carolina next week, so they may not be bad. There's a lot of different options. Whoever's playing the Raiders, the Eagles this week. Well, Houston, week 16, they're probably already rostered. And the Giants, week 17. And it's a road game for New York. I don't know if I can advocate for that one. But I gave you a few names. Let me know if you need me to rehash. And then pick 2 for Evan from Igbokwe, Brian Thomas, Chris Rodriguez, Chuba Hubbard, Michael Wilson, Singletary, Charbonnet. Definitely Michael Wilson, no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. No Marvin Harrison. I know it's a bad matchup against Houston, but the volume has been insane. He's been ridiculously good without Marv. I'm willing to bet on a solid floor despite the bad matchup for Michael Wilson. And then after that, I mean, I don't trust Brian Thomas. I also don't trust the connection between him and Trevor Lawrence. They don't seem like they're on the same page. I mean, Igbokwe is getting good volume. It's just he's not been good. He's tough to trust. I think I would go Michael Wilson and I guess Chris Rodriguez. I just don't love Igbokwe. I mean, the targets are there, the volume is there, the production is not there. It just hasn't been there. Charbonnet against Indy could be fine. Oh, actually, sorry. You have Singletary against Washington. You know what? I think that's my official suggestion, Evan. Not Rodriguez. Singletary. Because, yes, he's going to split work with Tyrone Tracy, but he looked good against the Patriots a couple of weeks ago, and this matchup is so much better than that. Washington's getting crushed by opposing running backs. So I actually like Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary as flex options this week just because of the matchup. So I'll say Michael Wilson and Devin Singletary. Wilson and Singletary. Okay, back up to my spot that I left off. The best tight end for week 16 of that group is probably Kyle Pitts, just because I don't think London is going to play again this year. And that's what it comes down to. He's the safest option right now. Darren Waller is in that conversation as well. Where do the Dolphins play week 16? Is it a home game? Oh, you know what? It's a home game against Cincinnati. Okay, I will say Waller. Waller and Pitts. Waller, then Pitts. I'll concede. I would say Waller first because he's playing the Bengals in Miami. The Bengals give up so many points to opposing tight ends that even tight end twos have tight end. A team's tight end two can easily have a tight end 1 week against the Bengals, and that's to say both tight ends can pop off. Waller gets all that work mostly to himself, although Greg Dulcich has been somewhat involved. I would plan to play Waller and then Pitts, just because Pitts is getting a 25 to 30% target share without Drake London, and London's not coming back. Yes, Evan. For me, Singletary over Igbokwe. I don't trust Igbokwe right now. He has done so. I think he's good, but he has done so little recently. It's just look at his recent game log, and it's impossible to trust him. It's impossible to trust him. Hunter Henry or Andrews this week? I mean, in theory, Andrews. But he picked up an injury today, and he was limited with a glute. If he's active and doesn't have an injury designation, I will still say Andrews just because of how good the matchup is against Cincinnati. I don't feel super confident about Andrews. He's been incredibly volatile this year. And even in good matchups, he has flopped. I feel like Hunter Henry, I haven't heard his name in recent weeks. That's right. He did catch a touchdown against the Giants, but it was wiped off the board, I think, because of a holding penalty back in week 13. Prior to that, he was the tight end 12, the tight end 1 overall, and the tight end 14. And he has to play Buffalo. That's a bad matchup. Andrews, if he's healthy. Bo Nix, Aaron Rodgers, J.J. McCarthy. Bo is against the Packers. Rodgers is against the Dolphins on Monday night. McCarthy gets the Cowboys. Man, I don't really want to play any of these guys. Like, is Mariota available? Is Mariota still on waivers by any chance? Like, could you pick him up and play him against the Giants? I mean, could you pick up? Is Sam Darnold available? Could you play him against the Colts? Could you play? Stroud's not great, but is Stroud out there? He's playing the Cardinals. That's a good matchup. Like, is Trevor Lawrence out there? He gets the Jets. I don't know. I don't want to play any one of those guys, to be completely honest. But if I had to pick one, I mean, Rodgers against the Dolphins, I guess. It's a solid matchup. They're all rostered. Okay. I guess Rodgers against the Dolphins. It's a decent matchup. You just need to hope that he throws the ball to his running backs and they don't just run it, so that at least when Warren and Gainwell do their thing, Rodgers is along for the ride getting points. I guess Rodgers because it's a good matchup. Yeah, I'll play Rodgers of those options. Let's see. And then better flex between Evans, Tracy, Slayton, Rico, Rodriguez. I would roll the dice on Rico. It's a solid matchup against New Orleans. They give up a lot of production to opposing running backs. Yes, Chuba is back. Chuba is involved, but Rico is still the early down guy for them. And honestly, I could see both of those guys doing well this week. So I'll lean on the guy that I think is still yes, it's a full-blown committee, but I do think Rico is going to get slightly more work than Chuba. And if the Panthers are winning that game, I would imagine Rico is more likely to be in the game taking second-half snaps over Chuba. I'll take Rico. There. Let's see. Oh, Wandir sent me a super. Appreciate that, Wandir. Thank you so much. Which quarterback? Mariota, Caleb, or Nix? Mariota. It is a bit of a clown car crew, but hey, you did it. Must be a good squad, top to bottom. I would say Mariota. He'll run. It's a good matchup against New York. Yes, he doesn't have Zach Ertz, but he still will have Terry McLaurin. He has Deebo Samuel. We'll get to see what Ben Sinnott can do for the first time with a full-time role. I will take Mariota given the matchup. Caleb against the Browns, no thanks. Bo Nix, just in general, no thanks. I'll take Mariota. And then the Chiefs are getting... oh, my God. Who do they play this week? The Chargers? Oh, they play the Chargers. I don't love that. The Saints get the Panthers. I guess the Chiefs, just because Herbert is still dealing with that broken hand. I don't love that I'm giving this suggestion. But Herbert took 7 sacks against the Eagles. There were a couple of plays that could have been turnover worthy. Herbert's a great quarterback, but he is, I think, I can only imagine that the broken hand, even with, the glove on it and everything, is limiting him. I would roll the dice that Kansas City can maybe continue to generate some pressure against a bad Chargers offensive line and pick up some sacks. So give me Mariota and give me the Chiefs from this question. Trust Warren or Likely? Likely. I don't want to play Tyler Warren this week. Not Phillip Rivers is a grandfather, literally. He has not played in 4 years. I think almost 5. I think it's closer to 5 years. Rivers has not played, and he's tracking to start this week. I don't want to play a single Colt other than Jonathan Taylor, and honestly, Taylor has me incredibly nervous this week that it's entirely possible that he unfortunately comes up short through no fault of his own. It's a brutal matchup, and their quarterback situation is a mess. I would play Likely against the Bengals. I would play Warren again, I would play Likely against the Bengals, and I would bench Warren. Sport Dog, do any one of these quarterbacks over each other? I mean, Lamar against the Bengals. All three of them are elite options. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Sport Dog. Whoever you start, obviously, hopefully has a good game, but you're going to have two quarterbacks on your bench that also have 2 games. That's just the nature of being in a shallow league. You have a bevy of talent to pick from, and there's a good chance that somebody's going to pop off on your bench no matter what decision you make. I would probably play Lamar. He ran better. He was running last week more so than in recent weeks, and it's a beautiful matchup against Cincinnati, and it's a revenge game for Baltimore. I'll take Lamar from that group. And then Evan, same idea as far as Likely. If Andrews is healthy, I'm playing Andrews. I know he's been volatile. I know he hasn't been great, but the matchup is as good as it gets. Cincinnati is awful against opposing tight ends. Andrews played them on Thanksgiving. He only had like 4 for 50, which isn't great, but I'll take that knowing that's the floor, or knowing that that's a solid chance that that's a floor, with upside for more, again, in a revenge game for Baltimore in a beautiful matchup. I will take Andrews over Barner. It wouldn't shock me if Seattle's weapons didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot in this game against Indianapolis, who is starting a quarterback who has not played in 5 years on the road against a good defense. JSN, obviously, you have to start, but everybody else, it's like they may not do anything. I'll take Andrews in a beautiful matchup against Cincy, assuming he's healthy. Jose, thank you for the super. Appreciate the support. Evans, Jennings, Tet, Godwin, Wilson. Is that Emmanuel Wilson? If Jacobs can't play, they are playing the Denver Broncos, so I don't love that. I think my answer is just Jennings and Tet McMillan. Jennings has operated as the team's wide receiver 1 in recent weeks over Ricky Pearsall. Oh, it's Michael Wilson. That changes things. Michael Wilson needs to be started. Michael Wilson needs to be started. He has to be in lineups. He has to be in lineups. I mean, just look at what he's done. I know they're playing Houston. I get it. I know Arizona's playing Houston. That's a brutal, brutal matchup. But look at his game log without Marvin Harrison and tell me, with all seriousness, this is for anybody who has Michael Wilson, that you're going to put him on your bench. You can't. You cannot. Maybe he doesn't go off for 15 for 150 and 2, but I mean, I got to imagine his floor at this point is somewhere in the 6 to 7 catch range. It may not be pretty, it may not be great, but he has been too awesome to leave on your bench without Marvin Harrison, and Marv's not going to play for another week. At least that's what it strongly looks like, back-to-back mispractices. So I'm definitely playing Michael Wilson. I'm playing Michael Wilson over so many people. Outside of the duh names like Puka, JSN, Jamar, I want Michael Wilson in my lineup. I don't care how I do it. So Wilson's definitely in. I did almost say Jennings, but I'm gonna go Tet. He is the team's clear-cut wide receiver one. Jennings has been playing solid, but this work could easily go to Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, even Ricky Pearsall perhaps. Tet is head and shoulders the top weapon in the Panthers offense, and it's a decent enough matchup. I'm going Wilson and Tet. That's where I'm going. Not Evans, first game back. Not Godwin. He hasn't been. Godwin's droppable, and if he's a waiver wire pickup, leave him there. Jennings has been solid, but he's the odd man out for me. I would go Tet and Wilson. Appreciate the super, Jose. Let me know if you need anything else. All right, back to the top. Before this gets too far away from me, because I've got quite a few questions to get to. Adunze, Shakir, Ramondre Stevenson. If it's full PPR, probably Shakir. If it's half PPR or standard scoring, I guess Stevenson. It's a pretty good matchup against Buffalo. They do get cooked by opposing running backs. Shakir in full PPR, Stevenson in standard or half PPR scoring. Adunze, we don't even know if he's going to play. He's looking good. He's tracking because of the limited practices, but it hasn't been great. He's going to see Denzel Ward. I would rather not play Adunze. Neal, Chuba, Monangai, or Singletary. Devin Neal? They're playing Carolina, who has a solid secondary, but they can still be beaten on the ground. And Neal is the only name here who is not in a committee. Alvin Kamara is not going to play. Kendre Miller's on IR. Monangai has to contend with DeAndre Swift. Singletary has to contend with Tyrone Tracy. Chuba has to contend with Rico Dowdle. Devin Neal has the backfield to himself in a good matchup. Devin Neal. Do I think the Falcons will make the game close tonight? I really don't. The Falcons are the worst team in the NFC South right now. I know that the line is currently Bucs minus 4.5, which against the spread is not a significant number, but I actually think that's a Tampa line. Yes, they lost. Tampa did to the Saints this past week. That was a bad loss for Tampa and a good building block win for New Orleans. Atlanta has nothing going for it right now. At least the Saints have an interesting quarterback in Tyler Shuck to hang their hat on going into next year. Probably is going to be the favorite in any quarterback competition unless they happen to end up with the number one pick and take that kid Mendoza. The Falcons are just playing out the string of an incredibly disappointing season. Kirk Cousins is a shell of himself. Drake London is out. Darnell Mooney is what he is. And the Falcons are not really that big of a threat on defense. No, I don't think they will. I really don't. I really don't. You picked up Emmanuel Wilson with Jacobs. With Jacobs banged up, smart. He should not be. Yeah, Emmanuel Wilson should not be on waivers, especially if you have Josh Jacobs. So if you were able to grab him, whether or not you have Jacobs, that was a good move. And you got Blake Corum back after dropping him. Also, well done. Running back depth, incredibly valuable this time of year. Nicely done. What's going on, Rojo? Good to see you. I got to drop down and take care of my members. Mariota or Bryce Young? I probably am going Mariota, even though both are in a solid spot. But I think I would go Mariota. He's been a good streaming option this year. It's a great matchup against the Giants. He will run. Still has Terry McLaurin. Still has Deebo Samuel. We'll see what Ben Sinnott can do in an expanded role. And again, Mariota will pick up rushing yards. I'll go Mariota in a good matchup against the Giants. I don't see the cat gift, Rojo, but I appreciate the thought all the same. I don't know how YouTube gifts work, to be completely honest. I'm an old millennial. I'm not tech savvy. Maybe I should be, but I'm not. I can plug a microphone into a computer and make it work. And even then, I've messed that up sometimes. All right. Oh, did I miss this? Smart dog. Oh, you can't. Oh, well, I didn't see this that you can't pick up Neal right now. Okay. Well, then let's make that call on Saturday when you know whether you have him or not. Because if you have Neal, I would play Neal. But if you don't get him, then Shakir is fine. But I would rather plan to play Neal if you can, just from a volume perspective. High floor should be there. Let's see. I got this. I got the member questions. I got the super from Wandir. Thank you again. Flex, McLaurin, Devontae Smith, Jalen Warren, Debo, Corum. Probably Warren. This is a good matchup against Miami, and they're at home. The Steelers are. It's a primetime game. The offense is running through these running backs right now, mostly because they just have nothing at wide receiver after DK Metcalf. Devontae Smith is in a great matchup against the Raiders. He's been quiet recently. McLaurin is in a solid matchup against the Giants. That's actually pretty good. I like the floor that Jalen Warren brings to the table, but I actually may, now that I think of, if it's full PPR, I may actually advocate for McLaurin. He did very well with Mariota at quarterback just a couple of weeks ago in a bad matchup against Denver, and now he gets the Giants. I think I changed my answer officially. I would play Terry in full PPR. Great matchup, and Mariota starting doesn't scare me off of him, especially after what he did a couple of weeks ago with Mariota at quarterback. Let's see. Harvey or Tet? I mean, Harvey's been pretty solid. Harvey's been pretty good. It's not a... I mean, the matchup against the Packers... The Packers have a good defense, but Harvey's at home. He played 70% of the snaps last week, so his role is rock solid. I like Tet, and I think he'll be fine, but I think I would play Harvey. It's a couple of good options there. It's unfortunate you can't get both into your lineup. Yeah. That's unfortunate. I think I got the super question from Jose. Thank you again. Better tight end start two different leagues, Ferguson or Waller. Ferguson if he plays, because I don't love Waller on the road against Pittsburgh in freezing temperatures for the Dolphins. And it's good. It's going to be cold as hell in Pittsburgh on Monday night. The forecast looks like it's going to be in 15 degrees with potentially snow. So no thank you for Waller. Ferguson, hopefully he plays. And then I would because Ferguson is on the injury report, I actually think I prefer Strange, who has been solid. And gets the Jets. And Strange plays in the early window. Ferguson plays on Sunday Night Football. So it's possible, if Ferguson is a game-time decision, it's possible we won't even know his status until after Strange plays. So if Ferguson is questionable for Sunday night, I would probably just plan to play Strange. Luckily, Waller doesn't play until Monday night, so you can wait until Sunday night to see if Ferguson will be active before you have to make that decision. But ideally, you don't have to play Waller's got a great playoff schedule, but I don't want to play him this week on the road in frigid temperatures where Tua typically struggles. I know they got the win last week, and that was all well and good, but that was the Jets, and it was 40 degrees. That's a little bit more palatable. For all of Pittsburgh's problems, they are a better team than the Jets, and it's going to be 15, 20 degrees colder than it was in New York. So I'm officially worried about the Dolphins' offense. At least guys like Waller. If you can pick up Likely, I much prefer that. They're playing the Bengals. I would prefer Likely over both of those guys straight up against Cincinnati. Yep. I would prefer Likely over both. Could drop either one. Doesn't matter to me. Did we get inactives rolling in for this game? Kyle Pitts is active. K. Dotton is inactive, no surprise. Jalen McMillan is active. There we go. Pitts was the one that we were waiting on. I really think Pitts is a solid, like, I would probably rank him in the tight end 7 or 8 range this week. I think he's got a low-end tight end 1, outlook with no Drake London. And if the Falcons are trailing in this game, they'll be throwing the ball to him and Bijan. But I think Pitts is in for a solid floor tonight. Loveland or Likely this week? Likely. Isaiah Likely is a perfectly fine guy to fire up. They are playing the Cincinnati Bengals, and Likely, I think, has more upside than Mark Andrews does at this point. Loveland gets the Bears, and he did okay last week against the Packers, but if Rome is back, that might take a few opportunities away. He's, Loveland's still somewhat volatile. Likely he has the best matchup of any tight end, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals this year. Yeah, Likely. And Gadsden is fine to drop. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I would pick up Likely. And then Drake May or Brock Purdy. Purdy's in a good matchup. Purdy's in a good matchup against the Titans. Drake May, yeah, it's not great against the Bills. But Drake May has been a rock-solid top-flight QB1 this year. I think, yes, Purdy has a good matchup, but I don't think I would shy away from Drake May. He's been so good this year. And I know it's a division game, and there's all those implications, but it's a home game. The Patriots can win the AFC East with a win, I'm pretty sure. I think May will come out and have a strong performance at home against the Bills. I don't think I can pivot away from Drake May right now, even though Purdy is in a good matchup. I think I got to play May. I think I have to. And then Bears or Steelers, both are good. Bears or Steelers defense, both are good options. But I mean, I did just list a laundry list of injuries for the Browns offense. David Njoku is not practicing. Dylan Sampson is not practicing. They already put Jerome Ford on IR, and Cedric Tillman is in concussion protocol. He's not practicing, probably going to miss. I mean, they are down multiple players that are key contributors for their offense. I mean, it's pretty much Judkins, Harold Fannin, and Jerry Jeudy, and that's all they are down to. Their ancillary options are going to be like Malachi Corley, and I think they claimed Travion Williams off a practice squad. So, I mean, they're hurting right now. Their depth is brutal. And the Bears have forced a lot of turnovers this year. I would probably say Chicago, even though the Steelers are a good matchup too. Do you drop Chris Rodriguez to grab Emmanuel Wilson? Do you have Josh Jacobs? If you have Josh Jacobs, then yes, I would drop Rodriguez for Emmanuel Wilson. But if you don't have Josh Jacobs, I'm not exactly pining to grab Emmanuel Wilson. They have to play the Denver Broncos this week. That's almost about as bad as it gets as far as matchups. I would do it if you have Josh Jacobs, but if you don't, then I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. Let's see what else we got here. Is Malik Davis? Yeah, Malik Davis is the handcuff for Javonte. If you have him, if you have Javonte and you're looking just to shore up your investment and pick up the handcuff, yeah, that's Malik Davis. I would think so. It's not Jaden Blue. It's not Hunter Lepke. So yeah, Davis is probably that guy. Godwin, Evans, Quentin Johnston, Adunze, likely Theo Johnson, and you have to pick 4 of these guys? Damn. The Bucs are incredibly volatile. Evans has not played in weeks. The vast majority of the season he has not played. He's not going to play every down. You're pretty much hoping that he gets... You're pretty much just hoping that he just only plays when they're in the red zone, and he's the one getting the red zone targets, the end zone targets. That's a dangerous game to play in the fantasy playoffs. Mike Evans is a stud, but that's a dangerous game to be playing. Godwin hasn't really done anything. Likely's in a great matchup against the Bengals. I think he's one of my selections. And honestly, I think Theo Johnson is too. And I don't love starting 2 tight ends. But I just don't want to play Evans or Godwin. Likely's in a great matchup against the Bengals. I think I would go there. I think I would go Theo Johnson in a great matchup against Washington. Slayton's in a good matchup too. He's very volatile to trust though. And then Quentin Johnston has completely fallen off a cliff. And then Judy gets the Bears. It's not a bad matchup, but he's so volatile. I need to look at this. I would play those 2 tight ends. Potentially no Cedric Tillman, no David Njoku for Cleveland. So that's, in theory, pretty good for Judy. It's a good matchup. Oh, boy. I have a hard time trusting him. I will say, and Adunze's on the injury report. I don't know how much we can trust him and if he's even going to play. Likely Theo Johnson. I'll play Judy with no Tillman and no Njoku. And I guess I'm rolling the dice on Mike Evans and just hoping for the best because these are a bunch of rolls of the dice, so I might as well take the best player who's a future Hall of Famer and just hope that he catches a ball. You're just hoping he catches a touchdown. You're treating Mike Evans like a tight end tonight. You're just hoping he gets into the end zone on 50% of the snaps. Yeah. Evans, likely, Theo, Judy. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you. You're looking for bench depth? Well, who are you dropping? I mean, I like Monangai. That's pretty much the only name I care about here, to be honest. I like Jalen Wright if you have Achane, but I don't think you have Achane. I like Monangai. He's forced a committee in Chicago's backfield. Judy's not bad, but he's hardly a must-start player. That's all I care about from this list, to be honest. Monangai and then I guess Judy. I'm not worried about Downs. I'm not worried about Lockett. I'm not worried about Kupp. Not at all. Oh, you have them. Oh. I would just keep those guys. Yeah. Okay. If you don't have Devon Achane, I don't think you necessarily need to hold Jalen Wright. I think Judy's fine as a wide receiver guy, that you could potentially keep. Mechie can be dropped if you have him with Brady Cook. DJ Moore. I mean, DJ Moore's tough to drop, but also impossible to play. Mechie can be dropped. Hollins can probably be dropped. Flournoy can be dropped. CeeDee's going to play. Yeah. Yeah. I like Monangai. I like Judy, and Jalen Wright is decent if you can find a spot for him. Flournoy, no. Sampson, he's hurt. Bryant, no. Hollins, no. Mechie, no. Yeah. Okay, and let me know if we need to talk through anything else there, Greg. Gadsden, Kincaid, likely Theo or Jawan. Not Gadsden. Kincaid has been solid. Likely's in a great matchup. Theo's in a good matchup. Jawan is in a solid matchup. I mean, Kincaid's been the most consistent of this bunch. It's a good matchup by the numbers against New England. I mean, Kincaid missed a good chunk of time, but he's been a tight end one in over half of the games he's played. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, that's correct. Kincaid has played 9 games this year. He has 6 tight end one performances. I think you have to go with Kincaid as one of your options. And they play the Patriots this week. The last time they played, he had 6 catches for 108 yards. So Kincaid has to be one of them. And then I would probably go, I mean, just for this week, I would go likely. He gets the Bengals. The floor is there. The high floor is there. Theo and Jawan are both interesting because they're in good matchups. But, man, every tight end feasts against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think I like the floor that Likely has. I would probably go Kincaid and Likely. Kincaid and Likely. And, yeah, Greg, I would go Judy over DJ Moore. DJ Moore is doing nothing. At least Judy has come to life recently a little bit. right, where else are we at? Dart or Mahomes? Dart. Dart this week. He gets Washington. That's a beautiful matchup. Both are solid. Both are probably top 6 or 7 options. Mahomes is in a tougher matchup. The Chargers have been pretty stingy through the air. And the Chiefs' receivers have struggled this year outside of Rashee Rice. Mahomes will run, so that boosts his floor, but Dart will also run, and Dart is just in a better matchup. Either one is a good play. I don't feel super strongly about this decision, and I mean that in a good way. Like, I think you can't go wrong. I would probably pick Dart. The matchup is so freaking good. And then Waller or Jawan Johnson. For this week, Jawan. They get the Panthers. I think that's a home game for New Orleans. Panthers secondary is solid, but it's a beatable matchup against their linebackers. Waller is going to be playing in frigid temperatures in Pittsburgh on Monday night, and Tua does not play well in the cold. So I'll take Jawan. Drop Tampa for the Saints. You also have the Jags. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that because you're playing Jacksonville this week against the Jets. And then guess who gets to play the Jets next week? The Saints. Yeah, I would be fine with dropping the Bucs for the Saints. And then if you advance to championship week, you could hold on to the Jaguars and play them again against the Colts, who could be starting 116-year-old Phillip Rivers. So, I mean, that's a pretty good tandem to have for your defenses for the playoffs. The Jags and the Saints are two solid options to go to. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm good with that. Michael Wilson, Tet, Debo, Wandale, pick 2.5 PPR. Wilson has to be in. I know the matchup is bad, but Michael Wilson has been so good. Without Marvin Harrison, he's been one of the best receivers in football when Marvin Harrison doesn't play. It's kind of wild. It's kind of insane. So Wilson for sure. And then in half PPR, I would really love Wandale if it was full PPR. The fact that it's half PPR makes him a little less enticing, but it is a great matchup, and he does gobble up a ton of volume. I think that's where I would go. Wandale's been pretty rock solid. I would go Wilson and Wandale. And then between Seattle and Houston, can't go wrong, to be honest. Seattle against Phillip Rivers or Houston against Arizona. Truly, like, take your pick. Both should be good. Both games are at home. Both defenses are awesome. Both defenses are in favorable matchups. I guess maybe Seattle, just because Phillip Rivers hasn't played a game in 5 years. I think both are fine plays. I guess I'll play Seattle. But I truly, if you prefer Houston, go for it. Like, both are top. They're top plays this week. Yeah. Both the Seahawks and the Texans defenses are top 5 plays this week. Drake May or Joe Burrow? I'll go Burrow. He's been on fire in his couple of games back from injury. While it's looking bleak Cincinnati is still mathematically alive for the division for the AFC North. It's going to be a tough game against Baltimore, but it is a home game. He went off against them on Thanksgiving. He will have T. Higgins in this game. T. Higgins practiced in a limited fashion today. Should be tracking toward returning against a concussion. T. Higgins' current situation is a little scary. He suffered multiple concussions this year close together, and he's going to play. So it's a little volatile, but if he suits up, I mean, we can't play scared. Burrow's going to have his elite wide receiver ones, his pair of wide receiver ones available to him in a must-win game against Baltimore. I'll take Burrow. Drake May's been incredible this year, but I'll take Burrow against Baltimore. It's a good matchup, and Burrow's been killing it in the couple of games since he's been back. And once again, Burrow is playing with the Bengals' backs against the wall, so he has to ball out. He has to ball out for them to have a chance to win. And would I roster likely for the rest of the season over Gadsden? At this point, I mean, all I can do is right now, this week, I'd rather play likely than Gadsden. So just by nature of that answer, of that feeling, then yes, I would. Could that change as soon as next week? Sure. We don't know what's going to happen, but right now, today, and we're taking this, I know we want to try to look ahead and set ourselves up for next week, but we got to get there first if we don't have a bye week. And so if you have to play a tight end this week, I would rather play likely. Therefore, right now, I'd rather have him than Gadsden. I forget who the Ravens play week 16. The Patriots. Actually, that's a pretty good matchup, too. Yeah, I'd rather have likely. All right. We're at the end of the chat. I don't think I have any other answer or questions that I missed, so I can stick around for a little bit longer, but there currently is no wait. Currently no wait if you are looking to get questions answered. See if there's any new updates about practice. I missed this thing about Devontae Adams. I have to look at this now. Sat out Wednesday's walkthrough and then was seen rehabbing his hamstring on the side one day later. Adams is a vet. He doesn't need to practice to suit up, but it is definitely a nerve-wracking start to the week as far as his availability. We'll see what happens there. What's going on, Manny? Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate the kind thoughts. If you do have anything, just let me know, but appreciate that. Hopefully it's a good holiday season for you and everybody who's hanging out here, however you're spending it, whatever you're doing. Hopefully it's fun. Hopefully it's enjoyable. It's a fun time of year. It's the holiday season, and we all get to sweat out playoff matchups. You are trying to set yourself up for 16 and 17. I'd rather have Likely right now because his stock, I would imagine, will be higher than Gadsden's going into next week. That's not a guarantee. That's just a projection based on their two matchups and the fact that Gadsden has been incredibly quiet recently. So for right now, I would say Likely. It could change, but I'll say Likely. Would I play Dart or Dak? Can't really go wrong. I don't think either one is a perfectly safe play. Dak's at home, and he will have CeeDee Lamb, so they should be able to air it out without any issues. Plus, they're playing with 10 days rest, so that's a little bit favorable for them. Dart, he's coming off his bye week, so he actually even has more time off than Dak does and gets a great matchup against Washington. So I guess that's one extra feather in Dart's cap, and Dart is significantly more likely to run than Dak. So if you have 6-point passing touchdowns, maybe Dak, but if it's 4-point passing touchdowns, I would say Dart. And even if it is 6-point passing touchdowns, Dart is perfectly fine to go with. I think his rushing upside keeps him incredibly safe. As far as what we can expect. I would probably lean Dart, but either one is fine, especially in 6-point passing touchdowns. All right. We got about 40 minutes or so to kick off. I don't see any other questions at this time. I will just say I will be back on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern for start sit help ahead of the Week 15 slate. So if there's anything you need finalized at that time, feel free to come on back. And then, of course, with the holidays coming up, not only are the holidays coming up, but I'm sure as many of you are aware, the NFL is going to start putting games on Saturdays, which do take place at a time that I normally stream. So I may stream earlier in the day on Saturday. Not this week, but the following week, and then of course I'll figure out the Christmas schedule when I have a chance to. But with 3 games on Christmas, there won't be any stream that day. We'll see about the rest of the week thereafter, because there may be some games on Saturday that week as well. So we'll see. But I will be here on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, to talk shop ahead of the Week 15 slate. What's going on, E111? Good to see you. Why do we need to, I guess, why are we making a drop? Is there somebody out there to pick up, or is there somebody that you just need to make room? Yeah, I see it's dynasty, but like, is like somebody coming off of IR and you need the roster spot? I mean, first of all, if you have any one of the starters, James Cook, then don't drop Ray Davis. Devon Achane, then don't drop Gordon. You got to make room for Evans. Okay. I hope you're not playing Evans tonight. He's incredibly volatile. I would even go as far to say if your lineup is already set, if you know who you're playing this week, like if you already have your lineup locked in and you're not worried about any more transactions, then I don't know that I would bother. I don't know that I would worry about making a move. So it depends on like how necessary is it for you to make this move before your matchup. Are there if there are guys on your bench that you intend to start and you need to get in there, then I guess I would drop Rashard Smith because I think he has the lowest draft capital of the 3 of these guys, and he's not making any headway in a disgusting Chiefs backfield right now. So I don't know that he's doing a whole heck of a lot for me. But that being said, if you have your starting lineup set and ready to go for your Week 15 matchup, I wouldn't drop anybody. Just because you have a current like illegal lineup because you have a healthy player in IR, if your lineup is ready to go, I wouldn't worry about doing anything. I would wait another week. before I make that decision, and give yourself that extra slate, those extra games, just in case, because you never know what can happen, to make that decision when you absolutely have to. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything yet if you don't have to. Sport Dog, you have Bowers. No, I wouldn't worry about grabbing Likely. You have to play Brock Bowers, and I know the matchup's not great. The weather is going to be a problem potentially, but it's Brock Bowers, and honestly, Kenny Pickett didn't look too terrible in relief of Geno Smith last week, and Geno Smith has been horrendous this entire season. So, I mean, yeah, the potential matchup and the potential weather issues stink, but Bowers is one of the best tight ends in football. I wouldn't worry about picking up Likely if you have Bowers. If you have Bowers, if you have Trey McBride, if you have George Kittle, that's your tight end. And you play that guy, and you don't worry about a tight end too. Evans, Devontae, or Aaron Jones in half PPR. I would not play Mike Evans. You have other viable options to turn to. I would use them. I know Devontae has been difficult to trust, but he's at home against the Raiders, and he's going to play a full complement of snaps. Aaron Jones is against the Cowboys. That's a great matchup on paper. And J.J. McCarthy, while I don't trust him yet, he played a little better this past week, and it's a good matchup by the numbers. Evans is only going to be a part-time player tonight, so he's incredibly volatile. He's incredibly risky. He might get a touchdown if he's only playing when the Bucs are in the red zone, but if he tops out at 50% of the snaps, that leaves you with a very small margin for error. I would play Devontae and Aaron Jones. And then Strange, Likely, or Schultz. Likely. The Cincinnati Bengals are getting absolutely cooked by opposing tight ends. And yes, some of that work could go to Mark Andrews, but Mark Andrews has been so volatile this year. I don't know that I necessarily trust him even in a good matchup. Likely has been and looked like the better player when he's been out there, even though the Ravens gave him a contract. I would play Likely against the Bengals. They just played on Thanksgiving. What did Likely do in that game? I should probably know this, but I'm pretty sure he did well. Isaiah Likely. Had 5 catches for 95 yards just 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati. Yeah, I'll take Likely. Superflex. Oh, boy. Pickett, Phillip Rivers, or Riley Leonard, or Brady Hook. Oh, boy. Or Brady Cook, not Hook. Brady Cook. There's Cook, there's Rivers, there's Riley Leonard, and then there's Pickett. Pickett. And I know that's a super scary one because the Eagles' defense is good and the weather might be bad, but at least he's the direct backup. Like, the Colts are down to their 4th quarterback at this point, and the Jets are down to their 3rd, and their first 2 weren't good. If Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor weren't good, then how good is Brady Cook at this stage of his career? I think he's a pretty young guy, so maybe it's unfair to poke fun of what potentially will happen on Sunday, but it might not be pretty. I guess Pickett. That's tough. That's a tough break for Superflex. I assume you've had some unfortunate luck with injuries, whether it's Daniels or Fields or Penix or who else has been hurt this year? Or who's not Daniel Jones? If you didn't have Daniel Jones, you get where I'm going with this. Yeah, I mean, or Kyler. Sure, like that just sucks. That's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I guess Pickett. Not that I love it, but I guess Pickett. Okay. Probably start winding down here shortly. But I can take any last-minute thoughts or questions that potentially roll in. It doesn't look like there's any more inactives or any practice updates that we haven't already touched on. Brian Thomas, Mooney, or Debo. Debo's probably got the best matchup here. I mean, Brian Thomas gets the Jets. That's not bad. But Brian Thomas has been very difficult to trust. He had 87 yards receiving last week on 3 catches. That's pretty good, but it's mostly been bad. It's mostly been bad. And Mooney has not been good. I don't feel good about him just because Drake London is out. I guess I would play Debo. I would play Debo against the Giants. It's a good matchup. That one's tough as well. But I guess I would say Debo. Debo with no Zach Ertz could see some more like short and intermediate opportunities. So I guess I'll say Debo. Sport Dog, would I keep Drake London? No. If you need the roster spot, I think London can be dropped. I don't see. First of all, the Falcons are completely out of it. And then on top of that, their starting quarterback coming into the year is not returning. So, like, there's no opportunity for Penix and London to work together and build on any type of chemistry going into 2026. There's none of that. He's going to be missing his 3rd straight game tonight. The Falcons are out of the playoffs. Like, what's the point of bringing him back if it's going to take another week or two for him to get back to 100%? And then even if he does play week 17 after missing, say, like a month's worth of time, like, that's a tough spot to trust him in championship week when he may not even be 100%. I would be surprised if he played again this year. I do think he can be comfortably dropped if you don't have the IR spot. Now, obviously, if there's not any obvious names on the waiver wire to go and get, then sure, keep him for another week and see what happens. But if he opens next week with a missed practice and he's still on my roster, I would drop him. I would probably drop him. Maybe that's a little extreme, but by this time next week, if Drake London is not practicing, he's a drop. Yeah, it's over. It's over for the Falcons. Do I think Brees plays this week? Yeah, I mean, he practiced today, so that puts him on track to play. But, I mean, what type of confidence can you possibly have in Brees Hall right now going up against Jacksonville and Brady Cook is going to be the starting quarterback? He is an RB3 at best, and there's an awful lot of downside there. So no, I wouldn't even bother with Isaiah Davis. Even if Breece Hall didn't play, I don't think I would play Isaiah Davis. I'd rather have Chuba. I'd rather have Vidal. I'd rather have all of those guys. No, I'm not. I'm not worried about Isaiah Davis. If you have Breece Hall, then sure, fine. You can drop a guy like Bam Knight just to give yourself the insurance, the handcuff. But I don't want to play. I barely want to play Breece against Jacksonville with Brady Cook. I definitely don't want to play Isaiah Davis. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Once again, I will be back on Saturday for Start Sit Help, 5 p.m. Eastern, ahead of the Week 15 slate. The NFL is starting to put games on Saturdays, not this week, but starting next week. So that'll interrupt my typical stream cadence a little bit. But obviously, keep it locked, keep it tuned in, and I will make sure when I'm available, make myself available for additional streams before the end of the fantasy playoffs. But I think that'll do it for me this evening as we get ready for the start of the fantasy playoffs. Obviously, congratulations if you made it. Pat yourself on the back. The sweat for goal number 2 starts tonight, or at the latest this Sunday. So obviously, best of luck in your matchups, in your playoff matchups, securing whatever, what you need to do to get a win and move on to the next round. Appreciate all the members that I saw. Let's see. I saw Crumply Heads. I saw Fortune, I saw Sport Dog, I saw Evan, I saw E111, I saw Manny, I saw Rojo. And I think that's all of them. And I saw Greg. Greg popped in a little late. Saw him as well. Appreciate all my members. Thank you, Wantier and Jose, for the supers. Much appreciated. And everybody for coming in and hanging out tonight. Appreciate the time. Best of luck. I will see you guys on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for Start Sit Help. Thanks, everybody.